Hello, Elaine. How are
Hello,
you?
I'm great. How are you? You're making me giggle already.
Oh God. So this is Elaine. Elaine, tell a little bit about you before we
I'm
start.
Elaine Franz. I'm the founder of Flow in Action, which is all about training a new generation of innovators and entrepreneurs to save the planet.
Ooh, a lot of
Mm,
work to do.
yeah.
And I'm Servan. I'm your host as well today, and I help women in the social enterprise ecosystem to thrive, to amplify the work, to tell
Mm,
the world about what they're doing, and to have household brands and feel good along the way.
I feel good.
And
Yeah.
we're talking about love, enterprise, and enchantment. That's our podcast. Welcome back for those of you who are listening live
Yeah.
or recording. And so the way it works is we have a quote or piece of text that we find, and this triggers a discussion, and then we kind of find some nuggets for you to take away and try, and feel free to put your comments in the comment section somewhere or down if you're on YouTube. And then we'll come back to them, and if any of these nuggets worked for you or tips or insights, yeah, please come back and comment again. Comment away.
Hmm.
So we do have quotes today. We do have we have decided to share something from Wangari Maathai, the fantastic Kenyan scientist, entrepreneur, activist. Do you
Mm.
want to throw the quote? Do you want
I will
to?
throw the quote, and I think it's super pertinent in all contexts, wherever we end up discussing today, because today is World Mental Health Day, and
Mm,
actually, I always find everything she says deeply healing, and that will come into context even more in a minute. So, I'm going to start with this part of a quote, which is from her Nobel Peace Prize
yeah.
um, speech in 2004. And
Mhm.
she says, today we are faced with a challenge that calls for a shift in our thinking so that humanity stops threatening its life support system. We are called to assist the earth to heal her wounds and in the process heal our own. Indeed, to embrace the whole of creation in all its diversity, beauty, and wonder. Recognizing that sustainable development, democracy, and peace are indivisible is an idea whose time has come. And that could not be more resonant today
Still.
than still, and we are however many years on from 2004. As you know, my maths is terrible, but
Mm.
that's where we are. And so, what context does that give to you? How do you feel about that?
Mm. Yeah, that's their first thing I've got instinctively. That's um, you can't be boxed or you can't be siloed in your thinking. You really need to take all these things into account when you do some work.
Mm,
So I'm thinking here about I'm thinking of the entrepreneurs who are listening and how they bring love and enchantment into their life and into the life of others. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think as well about her work. So she started as a scientist. Wangari's work. She
Mm,
started as a scientist. Uh, fantastic accolades, PhD, etc., etc. But then very quickly she got involved in that community development and engaging women into learning about trees, etc., and planting them and creating all sorts of viable structures for them to make a living, but also to bring all the community together and understand why it was important to plant trees, not just a
mm.
do-gooder. She was not a do-gooder.
Oh, she was doing good by
He was
being
doing very
active.
good, very
Yeah.
good. And also along the way, she didn't please everybody. And this is where politics came into play because she also formalized all these movements, this women's movement and that women's movement. And very soon it was clear that it represented a force, it represented a voice,
Mhm.
and is in the context of Kenya at the time and still today, and not just in Kenya, where you have a women's group raising the voice. Some people are not very pleased with that. So she also stumbled up, all the stereotypes and discrimination that you could even imagine.
Yeah.
And it was hard, very, very hard for her. I mean, she told a story many times, and there's a lot of material online you can find, but this is a fascinating stuff. So to answer the question, I think that when you find yourself and having an idea, I want to change this in my community, whether it's environmental, social, or both, actually, because these two are rarely separated.
Exactly.
You're part of an enterprising crowd or a community activism crowd, and very, very rapidly you are involved with the political crowd and the business crowd, and you got to be ready to have these different conversations. And that's going to be tiring. It's going to be a long learning curve, but you're gonna feel broken at time. But you really got to believe. So at some point, being able to clarify why you're doing all this in order not to desist. You have to have a sort of that kind of guiding star.
Yeah, I love that.
What about you? Tell me.
For me, it's now more. It's just so deeply pertinent. We've talked about this before for this concept of planet-centered design of a solution of a business is people-centered design. For me, the two things are indivisible. So when we are thinking, how can we emerge from where we are now in the pandemic? How can we take massive positive action over the next 10 years to really change the paradigm on protecting the planet in order to protect ourselves? What can we do? And it comes into this space of nurturing that as a mindset and nurturing that as a set of behaviors. So you have to plant those seeds, as Wangari Maathai did. You plant seeds, you don't immediately get trees, seeds go in first. And I'm really looking forward to what is going to come out of Global Entrepreneurship Week Geneva, the Best Ideas competition, because the pre-training that I've put together with UNIGE, the University of Geneva, I've specifically put a module in there which is about how do these incredible ideas that come from your creativity about the problem you're in love with, the one you want to fix, how does that map to the impact? How does it map to the 4 pillars of sustainability? How does it make a difference? How can you get to that space in 10 years' time? Because if you are not thinking in those terms, you are actually not innovative enough. And it can be a process. It can be about a community planting seeds. It can be about growing herbs on your balcony. It can be very simple, but like massive positive impact. And I want, as you do, and I know you do the same in your work, it's exactly the same process of how you kind of bring that way of thinking into what's happening now. And I think there's a huge appetite from young people for that, in their desire to really take action for the planet, to heal the planet. There's an intuitiveness within them that they still feel this connectivity with nature, and they want to do something about it, and we need to act on that together.
So it struck me when you described that it's not then only people-centered, it's more society-centered. Society.
Yeah.
So this is where we need to expand curriculum or conversation about how does this thought touches you, touches your neighbors. Yeah, the neighbors. I love that concept of neighbors. The neighbors,
Yeah.
with the grounds around you, and the bigger urban environment around you, and or the canal or the fields around you. What is the connection between all this, and how do we teach people to connect the dots every hour of the day, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause I
So
know
there
you.
was, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because I know you take walks along the canal,
Yeah.
and that in itself has a whole ecosystem, whether even around the shopping trolleys that may be in it. But
Not just the shopping trolley. We've got people with sadly they're homeless people
yeah,
from different backgrounds, and
exactly.
there is a whole. This is a different ecosystem there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a human
Plus
system.
the
But
residents on the boats, all
yeah,
kind of boats,
all kind of
and
both.
and there. So I think that walking slowly around the way along this canal in North London, and noticing what you're noticing.
Yeah, and there must be
In,
some old trees there along those canal banks.
We've got all sorts of stuff, some undescript stuff and fruits, and that I'm not daring to eat. And my brother lives in Finland, so
Oh,
is much more in a place of Finland that hardly has a page on the Lonely Planet guide. So, and it's a whole region, but they've got a lot of nature there. So
a lot
so
of
he's
nature.
very good with trees and things
Yeah.
along the way. I'm more the urbanite, sorry,
But
but so if.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think that the great potential in our own healing and in our planetary healing is bridging that gap. So you can I think we're in a space, and this is proven in terms of mental health and well-being. Right? If you plant something and you grow something and you watch it go through these stages and you nurture it. So something as simple as, the Mr. Potato Head thing that you get as a kid, to cress, to herbs on the balcony, to a tomato plant. This is not complex stuff.
No, I like it. I like it. I always get it wrong. I see your point. I see your point of that. What I learned from that is patience. So much so, and I just want to drop it here. I learned so much from that book, The Hidden Life of Trees. So Peter Wohlleben.
Yeah.
Let me just share it in the comments. It's beautiful, but it's just put things in perspective. That there are these trees are so old. Even the baby trees are so old compared to us. That it's just got to, your notion of time is totally nuts. And we really need to put things in perspective, and also the notion of a place-based action. A tree is good for a certain environment and is good in a certain environment. You plant it somewhere else, you create havoc, or it's not going to work. So I think, based on what you were saying earlier, there's that connecting with your little potato plant, but wondering what else you're doing along the way that could have an impact on other people's potatoes or trees is very important. And then I come back to my old potato planting style, where we've got a little, it's not a garden, it's just a bit of 3 square meters of things outside the house. And I plant potatoes, and a few weeks later I come back and has the potato grown? And and I'm just thinking, was it the potato I've put in to grow? So I put it back quickly, so hoping nobody's noticed. And every year I get ever so confused because I don't know. And I think my biggest mistake is that the impatience and the absolute lack of knowledge of how potatoes grow. So I could starve because of that.
You could. Potatoes are quite easy to grow. Stick them in a bucket
It's okay. I get it. I'm not good at planting anything. So I'm planting ideas and resources, but I got a hell of a lot of things to learn. But coming back on Wangari Maathai, there's something else she said.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you're very fond of that quote. Let me put that here.
I do.
And it's all about, do you want to read it? Here it is. Yeah. Finally.
Finally, let me find it. Where did I put it?
Finally, I was able to see that if I had a contribution I wanted to make, I must do it, despite what others said. that I was okay the way I was, that it was all right to be strong.
Yeah,
I
that
love
I
this.
think
I love this.
is for me that is so profound, and it's something that I came across for myself, in learning my practice 8-9
Mhm.
years ago, and it just landed with me. It landed in my core, and it landed in my core because when you have that idea and you want to share it, it is frightening to do that. You're bearing part of your soul, and at the same time to find, the ideas go through a series of iterations till you really come to that core, to that crystallization of what is absolutely the thing that you are looking to say, your purpose, your contribution, whether it's growing potatoes well or it's enabling others to speak their ideas and turn them into reality, which is, the space that
From
we
thoughts
like
to
to play
action.
in,
Yeah.
thoughts
From
to
thoughts to
action.
action.
And that was really super special for me. And it's something when I share it with people that I coach, or I share it with kids, there's this like light bulb moment of the wisdom of Wangari Maathai, which goes actually deep into the heart of the wisdom of trees, and that's patience, and that things take time, and the letting go. In fact, there was a quote somebody said to me last week, autumn shows us what the trees in autumn show us just how spectacular and beautiful it can be to let go of what no longer serves you, whether it's within your business, within your idea, relationships,
Old potatoes.
old potatoes that are not going to grow. And it's really letting, and it's that part of the systems we're in. We need to let go of these old status quos. We need to have ideas that go against the status quo and look to the impact that we want to make to heal the planet, to heal ourselves.
How does it translate into young people's mind? Because they're obviously very young to even think about letting things go outside an old toy, but maybe that's how they do that. How do they do that? That kind of moving forward. Do they think about it? What's going on?
Oh, great question. This comes in the workshops that I do with kids. What I see is three things. First, there's I want approval for my idea. Can I have this idea? Yes, you can, as long as there's no harm to people or planet. The second stage is when they've kind of really exploded is, can I be this innovative? Can I be this creative? Yes, you can. And then they sort of slightly turn into monsters, which is I want my idea to be best, because that's
the dictator style. First permission, and then
yeah. And I said, no, it's about collaboration. And this is the tricky part, I think, of it all, and especially where we're at now. Where we're at now, planetarily, is a call for us to stand shoulder to shoulder, as Wangari Maathai did, with from starting to plant trees to a political movement of activism, of women's ownership, protection of the planet. It takes a lot
and people.
and people. Yeah, it takes huge amounts of energy to collaborate because it's difficult, and there's conflict in collaboration, and it takes energy to build partnerships, and time and patience, and knowing who you are and knowing what you want to bring to the table, and process of entrepreneurship in building those value chains in order to build, have supply chains, in order to look across systems and change systems. It's got to come from us being courageous and vulnerable enough to step into the space of collaboration. And I'm going to fling that back at you, because you see
so
this
as
all
you know,
the time.
I've got a 10-year-old at home, and so I can't use it too much as a guinea pig, but I do sometimes when he says straight, Mom, I don't want to do your workshop. So I work more with people who are a bit more mature, and what I've noticed is, so some of them, they've done their businesses, their social enterprise, or their charities, or led charity, etc. And then there come a point where they say, "What have I actually done? What the heck have I produced?" Or at some point a doubt that have I wasted my time or what? It's certainly in these times where a lot of things are crumbling, have been crumbling for a time, but maybe we didn't see it. But there we started to see things now. And they said, just, am I wasting my time? Did I do all this? What was it for? What the heck am I doing? Am I better? Should I go somewhere else? Should I put all my energy somewhere else, or dig a hole and bury myself in it?
Yeah.
What's the point? What's the point? So this is great when you have someone like Wangari Maathai, because there's obviously she had a lot to do, and one thing brought another thing. So you don't have to have a plan all set when you start. Things that you're going to be carried along the way. You have to follow your instinct, nurture that instinct or intuition, because intuition comes also with this combination of experience and learning and feedback and permission and all that kind of stuff, which makes you say, see what I'm going to do now. There's a lot of stories behind a simple aha moment. So you need to live to have intuition.
Yeah. And you need that openness to making the mistake. So what I set out to do when I landed here 9 years ago was something to do with
here is Switzerland. You're in the mountain, just for people who don't know.
Just for people who don't know, I'm in the mountains, which
we can't see people. You cannot see where she is, but it's great. Elaine shows me, I'm going to go for a walk now, and she shows me like mountain green cows with bells and everything. I'm like, I'm going to go on a canal.
Same but different.
Anyway, sorry.
What was I saying? You completely disrupted me. But the
intuition.
Yeah. So what I started out doing, I was like, I am going to set a business up which will do resilience and leadership through snow sports with adults, and that came a cropper very quickly, because where I live, people who come to this specific place to do snow sports are really not interested in self-help or growth or leadership. That it is a very hedonistic space. On the other hand, the mountain themselves is incredibly beautiful, and so I have failed and failed and failed. I've lived the metaphor of falling down and getting back up, whether it's on a bike or off my skis or walking quite often, in order to get back up. And that's the letting go, the moving forward, the resilience part of all of this. The patience to go, these bits are no longer serving me, but the bit that, as these things fell away, and there were lots of tears involved, has been for me coming to this core of how do I plant the seed so people can have their own ideas? How can I hold them?
Last week's podcast.
How can I hold them so they will step into that space? How can they emerge like a young tree and keep growing and growing and growing? Trusting.
And it takes time.
It takes time. Yeah.
So that's funny, because you're the nature woman. Your metaphors always come back on the seeds and the planting and the thing and this. Now I understand why Wangari is so dear to you, and so I've got the more urban environment kind of metaphors. And what you just say, when you have the parallel between young people and more adult, more mature people trying to figure out what they're going to do next. And that's something you said about the failures, what you see as failures.
Yeah.
When you talked about that metaphor, you say, maybe I fell off the path of my skis or everything. Do you know that the word failure is the same as fall? Yeah. It's the same as, actually, the root means stumble.
Yeah.
And that metaphor, for me, it reminds me that you stumble, something breaks, but breaking is a matter of when something breaks, there is a shock. there is a realization, maybe an understanding that it was something was valuable that you didn't see before, or actually it's no longer fit for purpose or serves any purpose. Or
Yeah.
maybe you can learn from that experience and patch all these things together. You know that Japanese art. You know what
Mm.
they do?
Oh
What's it called?
yes. Yeah, yeah.
It's called kintsugi. When you
Mm.
repair broken items with a kind of sap or gold glue,
Yeah.
and to make them more beautiful. It's just there is something
Yeah.
about putting these pieces together to create something new. Understanding waste, understanding regret, but building, making something new, and also all these pieces put together form a new, not a purpose, but a new representation of what could be.
Mm. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
find, and when all these pieces are put together, you say, "That's me," with all my joys, my stumblings, my bruises. All of this makes me, and I understand why I did all these things together, or
Yeah.
all these things along the way, along the years, and that's that purpose. That is my
Yeah.
purpose. And this is what she said.
Yeah.
So I was able to see that I had a contribution I wanted to make. I must do it despite what others said.
Yeah.
That it's okay the way I was. That was all right to be strong. And when you
Yeah.
glue things back together with something as precious as gold, or whatever that sap is that they use originally in Japan,
Yeah.
it's great.
It's
It's
really,
great.
really beautiful. And this last week, I got to. There is a pasture in the mountain valley, slightly over there, which has the oldest larch trees in Europe. And one of these trees is 1,000 years old. And I've been meaning to go up there for years, and I finally got to go up there and sit beside a 1,000-year-old tree, not under it, just in case it falls off. There's a crack. But sitting beside a being that is 1,000 years old, and just sitting with it and having the experience of sitting with it. And I'd gone with a couple of friends, and I said to them, I feel like I should be asking the tree some questions, which is a very sort of...
And the friends said, "Oh, here we go."
Here we go. Yeah. And they did, and they went,
Did you say something?
Yeah, don't ask it anything, just be with it. And I was like, oh, but I need its wisdom. And they were like, just be with the tree. And what you start to notice as you're patient and just be and just listen is that space of expansion, which is really beautiful, of what thoughts are being triggered with me, what is happening to my creativity as I sit with this being, and just the sheer mind melt of being with something that is 1,000-year old and still living and still growing and still watching this mountain thing unfold, and crazy humans every winter kind of zip in and out on skis and snow, whatever. Really beautiful. And it's coming back to that self-care comes from, whether it's a canal, whether it's a 1,000-year-old tree, that sense of connection and connectivity. The Wangari Maathai talks about, I planted trees as well for fresh air. I'm sitting next to the thing.
It's political act as well.
Yeah. And especially now, political act, we need to clean up our air. But sitting next to the thing that is breathing me, it is cleaning my air as I sit next to it. It just sparked such
a partnership, eh? What a
I
partnership.
know. Yeah. Maybe we should plant some. Or stop cutting them down. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things to take away from today's chat. I think if anything, if people, I don't know, audience, is there something that has cracked, things that are cracked, and when you put them together, what does it give you? So if you do that kintsugi art, or maybe you I don't know, maybe you replant something,
Yeah.
not potatoes. Or potatoes.
Definitely
But
build.
what is it that, what dare? Dare, what is it that you can dare to do to put things together? Maybe it's pieces of your life and the purpose they've had to reconcile yourself with all the stuff you've done, so that the next steps of your life, you're going to build something, you're going to go with it and allow time to provide you with the necessary strength as well to rebuild something.
Yes, absolutely. That's a
Mm.
lovely call to action. I love that. Because it also talks about there is you're greater than the individual jigsaw pieces. As you pull this experience together, it is powerful and beautiful, and it's yours and it's unique to you, and that's what makes you valuable at the table of fixing these big problems that we need to fix.
So that could be a self-care action, that could be an enterprise thing, because all the different things you're good at, it could be part of a new business, or refresher of your business. You could do something like that with teams, or you could just plant a potato and see what happens.
Yeah, patiently.
Cool. We're done for this week. We're done. We're coming back in 2 weeks, people, at same place, same time. And if you got quotes as well that you want us to discuss, share, etc.
Yeah.
Please send it through, send it over. We'll talk about it. We'll see what happens. It was Love, Enterprise, and Enchantment with Elaine, France, and Servan Moizin. Thank you.
Ciao.